Good morning, I'm Tom from Ledgmere, and as promised, this week is Farmall Tractor Week. So we're going to start with my oldest tractors and then work my way up to the newest ones. Here beside me is my oldest tractor, and it's actually the old tractor that I've owned the longest, and this is a 1948 Farmall Cub, and I bought this 4 years ago. It came from southern Connecticut, down by Orange, Connecticut, and it spent its entire life on a tobacco farm. It came with a set of planters, the McCormick trailer, a snowplow, a full set of weights, and a set of cultivators. At some point, the previous owner had completely refurbished this tractor and made it parade ready. Since I've had it, I have had to do a couple things like change the muffler, I rebuilt the carburetor, and I've got brand new tires on it. Other than that, I really haven't done anything to it. It's a marvelous tractor. As is with a lot of old tractors, it does smoke a little bit, but not too much. And these tractors were originally rated around 8.6 something horsepower, so somewhere between 8 and 9 horsepower. It has a 3-speed sliding gear transmission. It's not synchronized or anything. The hood and tank is all one piece, so that it does make it a little bit more difficult to service the engine. I can reach the spark plugs from this side without removing the hood, but if you need to do anything else, really, you have to take the hood off, such as get into the generator. This has a magneto. Originally, these tractors came with a J4 magneto. It does have an oil filter. It's a pressurized system, 6-volt system on this tractor, electrical system, and this tractor did come standard with electric starting and lighting. But one thing worth noting is that they never offered these tractors with the headlights black. They were always painted the same color as the tractor. So I don't know if these are replacement lights or if the previous owner, when he restored it, painted them black, but regardless, they should be the body color of the tractor. Most of the stuff was installed on the tractor when they painted it, and so pretty much everything should be red. And as you can tell, I've changed the starter, so that's black because that's what you get when you buy them now. The generator, which you can't see, is up under the hood, but that's black as well. I am going to go out on a limb and say that electric starting and lighting was optional until 1964, when International updated or modernized their equipment, and instead of being a 6-volt positive ground, they went to the standard 12-volt negative ground. So I think at that point was when the electric start and lights became standard. This tractor actually has the wider front tires. 3-inch were standard. These have 4-inch. 6-inch rears were standard. These are, I think, 8.5s. Also, adjustable wide front end was optional. They came with a non-adjustable wide front end as standard equipment. You had to pay extra for the breather with the jar on it. The muffler was extra. This seat is not original to this tractor. This is an extra seat that I had. I have the original spring. It's like one post with a spring with an implement metal seat on it, and it's not super comfortable. So I have it, but this is way more comfortable to sit on. And in doing so, you have to change the shift lever to the bent design. If you have the straight shifter that's on it, you can't get back into first or third. So you basically have second in reverse. Hydraulic lift was an option. They typically came standard with a hand lift. And I have one right here that is basically the same. So instead of this rod going to here, there was a handle that stuck up here, so you'd have to reach up and down to lift your equipment. This rear lift on this tractor is optional. They didn't come standard with that, but this gives you the ability to have your plows being lifted on the back or whatever else you're using. Unlike the Super C and the A, or Super A I should say, the touch control system is only one valve, so you've only got the ability to pick one thing up and down, whereas like the Super C, I've got 3. The 140, I've got 2. International did work around some of this by making it so that you could chain up something. Like if you had your 22 mower on the front, you could unhook the chain and hook it to a triangle that was there, and then you could still use the rear lift for something else. This is the same style cub that you'll see on the series until about 1954, where they used this wire mesh screen on the front. After that, they changed it to a bar grill to match the other series of tractors that had come out at the time. This will fit on the newer tractors, and the bar grill will fit on that as well. The grill for the Cub at the time kind of matched this 200. It was the same design as this, and then for the 30 series, they just painted it white. And then when they came out with the 560, 460, they went to this style grill on the front right there. It's like I don't know if it's a 3-bar or 4-bar. I guess it depends if you count the spaces of the actual bars. I get confused. They made about 224 some odd thousand of these Farmall Cubs until 1964, when they changed it from Farmall to International. And International at the time, around 1964, they decided that most of the people buying these tractors were municipalities, schools. They were primarily being bought as a mowing tractor, or the small farmer wasn't really buying them anymore. The homeowner was buying them for mowing and doing their garden and stuff. But Farmall, it wasn't a farm tractor anymore. It was an industrial or a municipal tractor. So the yellow was more visible for being out in public with the tractor, so they changed it to yellow. There's a lot of disagreement about when they stopped making the Farmall Cub. Some people say 79, 80, 81, and I really believe they stopped in 1979, but there probably were some leftovers being sold after that. And in total, I think they made 245,000 of these tractors. And so it was built for about, offhand, it was built for about 30 something years. The original came out in 47. 47s didn't have hydraulic lift on it. The hydraulic lift system wasn't ready yet. And so in 48, you could get the hydraulic lift system as an option, or you could bring your 47 back in and they could retrofit it and add it as a dealer option. My dad bought one. My father bought one brand new in 1947 after he got out of the Navy. It took a little bit after World War II for all the sailors to come home. By the time they dismissed them and shipped them home, so it was 1947 when he finally bought his Cub, and then he took it back in 48 and had hydraulic lift added. And he did tell me he bought the adjustable front end and the wider tires, and he had a muffler, he had plows, a cultivator, a sickle mower, a cordwood saw, and whatever else he had kicking around, because my grandfather had an old Model A with 2 transmissions, and then the frame was shortened, so they called it a homemade tractor or doodlebug, and that was what Dad had first. And then he bought his Cub, and he had 15 dairy cows, and so he ran his 45-acre farm with the Farmall Cub. And speaking of that, the Cub was actually aimed at the small farmer, because in 1947 there was still a lot of farmers out there who were doing all their work with a team of horses or a mule or a set of oxen. And International wanted to hit that market and gain those customers. So the Cub and the A were the tractors that were aimed toward those folks. The maintenance on this tractor is pretty straightforward. The big thing about the Cubs that probably factored into the low price for it brand new was that this was International's only tractor that they made that did not have sleeves or replaceable sleeves in the motor. So it was just bored, the cylinders were bored directly into the block. So in order to rebuild your Cub, a lot of times you have to rebore the cylinders or hone it. And so you could have $2,000-3,000 in a motor job, and you can a lot of times buy these Cubs for $1,000 still. And it just depends on the condition, where you're at, and what attachments come with it. I read there was well over 30 attachments that could be purchased for the Cub, and on it right now is a Mott flail mower. I've got an adjustable swing and drawbar on it. These eyelets right here are for the two-way plows. And you've got a depth control that sits here, and you've got your lift over here. There were probably a half dozen plows just for the Cub, and then you had the drag discs, the mounted discs as far as the harrow, cultivators, field cultivators, furrowers, planters, trailers, you name it, you could pretty much get it for this tractor. And it would pull all the horse-drawn implements that the farmer already had. And so it was really common back in the 40s and 50s and even in the 60s to some extent for farmers to take old horse-drawn implements, take the sheaves off that they would use to harness the horse, and replace the sheaves with the pole, the tongue, or shorten the tongue, and just put a clevis hook on it and then tow it behind them. And these tractors a lot of times came with a hook on the back of the seat, and you'd put your rope on here so you'd trip your plows or your harrows or your dump rake or whatever you were pulling. 40 to anything 45 or less acres typically were the Cub farmers. And if they had a team of horses or a yoke of oxen, a certain percentage of their crops had to be raised just to sustain their horsepower. And so with the Cub, you could eliminate some livestock that wasn't necessary and convert that land into productivity for sale instead of just sustaining your livestock. And actually at that time too, there was a huge decline in horses and oxen in the United States. And if you look, you'll see the drop-off was really intense. And so this tractor came out of Connecticut, and as far as I know, it spent its whole life down there in Connecticut on that tobacco farm, cultivating and planting tobacco. And then I brought it up here, and I just use it for mowing mostly, and I've spread some manure with it, but most of the time it's just a parade tractor, and I have it because it reminds me of what my dad bought in 1947. It's a great little tractor, and people still like them, and people still ask you if it's something that is worthwhile buying today. And it's kind of a loaded question because there's no 3-point hitch. You can modify one to put on it, which is okay for lifting, but it doesn't have a lot of horsepower. And the PTO shaft on the Cub is a 10-spline counter-rotating PTO shaft, so none of the 540 stuff fits on it. And yeah, you can buy adapters, but the reason that it's 10-spline counter-rotating is so that people didn't overload the tractor by attaching things that weren't designed for this little tractor. And so as a garden tractor, as a yard tractor, as a lawnmower, as a fun little tractor to tow wagon, around the yard, this beats any tractor that you can buy today for gardening. It does everything and more. Plow your driveway, plow your garden, etc. Put a sickle bar mower on it. As far as a farm tractor that's super useful, it's kind of a I don't know. You can buy a decent little diesel tractor now for $2,000 or $3,000 with a 3-point hitch. And so I guess it just kind of leaves it up to what you want. I like them. I know how to work on them. They're very simple to work on. The parts are really readily available and still pretty inexpensive because they made so many of them. They made 245,000 of them. There's tons and tons of parts. But if you can only afford one tractor and you've got a small farm, I probably wouldn't get one. I'd probably buy a small diesel tractor just because of the 3-point hitch and the 540 PTO. So that being said, it's still a good tractor, but there are caveats to that. So anyway, make sure you tune in tomorrow and catch another episode of Old Farmall Tractor Week. I'm doing it all week, so this is day 1, and I've got 4 more to go. If you like these videos, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so that you don't miss anything. And we'll talk to you next time. Everybody have a good day.